Welcome to the Power of Habit, a journey into understanding why we do what we do in life and business. Habits shape our daily routines, influence our decisions, and ultimately determine our success and happiness. In this video, we'll explore the science behind habits, how they form, and how they can be changed. We'll meet real people whose lives were transformed by altering their habits, and discover how organizations and societies harness the power of routine. Whether you're looking to break a bad habit or build a new one, this series will give you the tools and insights to take control of your behavior. Let's begin by setting the stage for why habits matter so much. Before we dive into the content, it's important to acknowledge the origins of the power of habit. Written by Charles Duhigg and published by Random House in 2012, this book draws on extensive research and interviews with scientists, executives, and individuals. The names and details of some participants have been changed to protect their identities, but the stories and insights remain authentic. The book is structured to guide readers through the science and practical applications of habit formation, change, and impact. With academic references and real-world examples, Duhigg's work provides a comprehensive look at how habits influence every aspect of our lives. The power of habit is divided into three main parts: the habits of individuals, the habits of successful organizations, and the habits of societies. Each section explores how habits emerge, how they can be changed, and the profound effects they have on our lives. The book includes a prologue, chapters focused on key concepts like the habit loop, craving, and the golden rule of habit change, as well as case studies from companies and social movements. By understanding the structure, you'll see how the narrative builds from personal stories to broader societal impacts, making the science of habit accessible and actionable. Meet Lisa Allen, the scientist's favorite participant. At 34, Lisa had struggled with smoking, drinking, and obesity for most of her life. After a painful divorce and a trip to Cairo, she decided to change one thing she could control: quitting smoking. This single decision set off a cascade of positive changes. She lost 60 pounds, ran a marathon, started a master's degree, and bought a home. Researchers studied Lisa and others who had transformed their lives, seeking to understand how focusing on one keystone habit could reprogram routines and lead to lasting change. Lisa's story illustrates the profound impact of targeting a single habit and how it can radiate throughout every aspect of life. Scientists from various fields, neurology, psychology, genetics, and sociology, studied Lisa and others who had successfully changed destructive habits. Using brain scans, DNA sequencing, and daily routine monitoring, they discovered that habits are encoded in specific neurological patterns. When Lisa replaced smoking with jogging, her brain's activity shifted, showing new patterns that crowded out old impulses. This research revealed that habits can be changed by focusing on one pattern at a time, known as a keystone habit. The findings underscore the importance of understanding the neurological basis of habits to effectively transform behavior. A keystone habit is a single pattern that, when changed, can trigger a ripple effect throughout other routines. Lisa's decision to quit smoking became her keystone habit, leading to improvements in eating, exercise, work, and financial management. Researchers found that by focusing on one habit, individuals could reprogram their lives. This principle applies not only to people but also to organizations. Companies like Procter & Gamble, Starbucks, Alcoa, and Target have used keystone habits to transform their operations, employee communication, and customer behavior. Understanding and leveraging keystone habits is a powerful strategy for lasting change. When researchers examined Lisa's brain, they observed that her old habits were overridden by new neurological patterns. The areas associated with craving and hunger remained active, but new activity emerged in regions linked to self-discipline and behavioral inhibition. This shift became more pronounced with each scan, demonstrating how the brain adapts as habits change. Lisa's compelling brain scans helped scientists map where behavioral patterns reside within our minds, offering insights into how decisions become automatic behaviors. This research is crucial for understanding the mechanics of habit formation and change. Think about your morning routine. Do you shower first, check your email, or grab breakfast? Do you brush your teeth before or after toweling off? These seemingly deliberate choices are often automatic habits. Research shows that more than 40% of our daily actions are not actual decisions but habits. Over time, these routines, what we eat, how we interact with family, whether we exercise, have enormous impacts on health, productivity, and happiness. Understanding that habits drive much of our behavior is the first step toward making meaningful changes. Philosophers and thinkers like William James, Aristotle, and Oprah have long pondered the nature of habits. William James wrote in 1892 that all our life, so far as it has definite form, is but a mass of habits. While habits have been recognized for centuries, only in the past 2 decades have scientists begun to understand how they work and how they can be changed. This modern research has opened new possibilities for personal transformation and organizational improvement, making the science of habit more relevant than ever. The first section of the book focuses on how habits emerge within individual lives. It explores the neurology of habit formation, methods for building new habits, and strategies for changing old ones. Examples include how toothbrushing became a national obsession, how Alcoholics Anonymous reforms lives, and how Coach Tony Dungy transformed a football team by focusing on automatic reactions. These stories illustrate the practical applications of habit science and how understanding the habit loop can lead to lasting change. The second part examines the habits of successful companies and organizations. It details how executives like Paul O'Neill remade struggling firms by focusing on keystone habits, and how Starbucks instilled habits to strengthen willpower among employees. The section also explores how organizational routines can lead to catastrophic mistakes if they go awry. By understanding and shaping organizational habits, companies can improve performance, communication, and culture. The third part looks at the habits of societies, recounting how social movements like the Montgomery bus boycott and Saddleback Church succeeded by changing ingrained social habits. It also explores ethical questions, such as whether someone should be held responsible for actions driven by habit. By examining societal habits, the book reveals how collective routines can drive change and shape history. Each chapter revolves around a central argument. Habits can be changed if we understand how they work. Drawing on hundreds of academic studies and interviews, the book focuses on habits as technically defined, choices we make at some point and then stop thinking about, continuing to do them automatically. By breaking down the habit loop and understanding its components, anyone can rebuild patterns and take control of their behavior. The U.S. military is one of the largest habit formation experiments in history. Basic training teaches soldiers carefully designed habits for shooting, thinking, and communicating under fire. On the battlefield, commands rely on behaviors practiced to the point of automation. Commanders seek habits that can create durable peace, showing how organizational routines can influence outcomes on a massive scale. In Kufa, Iraq, an army major analyzed riot patterns and discovered that violence was usually preceded by crowds gathering and food vendors arriving. By removing food vendors, he disrupted the habit loop, preventing riots. This experiment showed that communities are collections of habits, and by influencing routines, leaders can shape outcomes. Understanding crowd dynamics through the lens of habit offers new strategies for managing social behavior. The Army Major's story illustrates how understanding habits can change everything, from personal routines to community dynamics. He applied habit principles to his own life, teaching his family about nighttime patterns, running routines, and marriage plans. His experience shows that anyone can learn to influence habits regardless of background, and that getting the habits right is key to achieving goals. In the past decade, our understanding of the neurology and psychology of habits has expanded dramatically. Scientists now know why habits emerge, how they change, and the mechanics behind their formation. This knowledge allows us to break habits into parts and rebuild them to our specifications, making it possible to eat less, exercise more, work efficiently, and live healthier lives. Transforming a habit isn't always easy or quick, but it is possible with the right approach. The habit loop is a three-step process: cue, routine, and reward. This loop becomes more automatic over time, intertwining cue and reward until anticipation and craving emerge. When a habit forms, the brain stops fully participating in decision-making, allowing routines to unfold automatically. Understanding the habit loop is essential for controlling and changing habits, as it reveals the structure behind our behaviors. Eugene Pauly, known as EP, suffered from viral encephalitis that destroyed part of his brain responsible for memory. Despite severe amnesia, Eugene retained complex habits and routines. He could find his way home, cook breakfast, and perform daily tasks without remembering recent events. Researchers discovered that habits reside in the basal ganglia, an ancient part of the brain, allowing routines to persist even when memory is lost. The basal ganglia is a golf ball-sized lump of tissue deep inside the brain, responsible for storing habits. MIT researchers found that as rats learned to navigate mazes, their brain activity decreased and the basal ganglia took over. This process, known as chunking, allows the brain to convert sequences of actions into automatic routines. The basal ganglia enables us to perform complex tasks like driving with minimal conscious effort. The habit loop operates through cues, routines, and rewards. For example, when backing a car out of the driveway, the brain relies on stored habits to perform the task automatically. The basal ganglia identifies the habit, allowing the rest of the brain to focus on other thoughts. This effort-saving mechanism is crucial for efficiency and survival, enabling us to devote mental energy to more complex challenges. Chunking is the process by which the brain converts a sequence of actions into an automatic routine. As habits form, brain activity decreases and the routine becomes effortless. This automation allows us to perform everyday tasks without conscious thought, freeing up mental resources for creativity and problem-solving. However, it also means that bad habits can persist unless deliberately changed. Habits provide a huge advantage by saving mental effort, but they can also be dangerous. The brain's dependence on automatic routines means that bad habits are always lurking, waiting for the right cues and rewards. Changing habits requires deliberate effort to create new routines that overpower old behaviors. Understanding this balance is key to managing both beneficial and harmful habits. Habits can be ignored, changed, or replaced, but the habit loop remains encoded in the brain. To change a habit, you must break it into its components and fiddle with the gears. Experiments show that habits never really disappear, they're always waiting for the right cues and rewards. Creating new routines that overpower old behaviors is the key to lasting change. Habits are powerful but delicate. They can emerge outside our consciousness or be deliberately designed. Cues can be visual, emotional, or social, and routines can be simple or complex. Rewards range from physical sensations to emotional payoffs. Small shifts in cues or rewards can disrupt habits, making them both strong and fragile. Recognizing and manipulating these elements is essential for habit change. Studies show that families don't intend to eat fast food regularly, but cues and rewards create a habit loop that increases consumption over time. McDonald's standardizes cues and foods are engineered for immediate rewards, tightening the habit loop. However, when a restaurant closes, families often revert to home-cooked meals, demonstrating the fragility of habits. Observing cues and rewards is the first step to changing routines. Eugene's ability to form new habits was tested through experiments involving objects and routines. Despite severe memory loss, Eugene could learn to choose the correct object based on cues and rewards, forming a habit loop. However, when the context changed, his habits fell apart. This demonstrated that habits can be learned unconsciously and are highly dependent on consistent cues. Eugene's habits were delicate. If cues changed, routines fell apart. His emotional habits, like anger, persisted even when he forgot the cause. Researchers found that habits influence behavior more than memory or reason, and once lodged in the brain, they drive actions automatically. This insight revolutionized the scientific understanding of habit formation and its impact on daily life. Experiments with mice showed that habits can persist even when rewards become dangerous. Mice trained to press levers for food continued the routine even when the food was poisoned or the floor electrified. This parallels human behavior, where ingrained habits can override common sense and lead to unhealthy choices. Recognizing the power and delicacy of habits is crucial for overcoming addiction and destructive routines. Families who increased fast food consumption were influenced by cues and rewards they didn't recognize. When researchers observed these patterns, they found that small changes, like closing a restaurant, could disrupt the habit loop. By learning to observe cues and rewards, individuals can change routines and regain control over their behavior. MIT researchers implanted sensors in rats' brains and observed how they learned to navigate mazes. As rats repeated the route, their brain activity decreased and the basal ganglia took over. This process demonstrated how chunking and automation allow habits to form, making routines effortless and freeing up mental resources. The habit loop consists of a cue, routine, and reward. Over time, the loop becomes automatic, and anticipation and craving drive behavior. Understanding this structure allows individuals to break habits into components and change routines, making it possible to control and reshape behavior. Habits never really disappear, they're encoded in the brain. The problem is that the brain can't distinguish between good and bad habits, so destructive routines are always lurking. Creating new routines that overpower bad behaviors is essential for lasting change. Deliberate effort and understanding the habit loop are key to transforming habits. Experiments show that changing the placement of rewards can extinguish habits, but old routines reemerge when cues and rewards return. This explains why exercise habits and dietary changes are difficult to maintain. By creating new neurological routines and taking control of the habit loop, individuals can force bad tendencies into the background and make positive behaviors automatic. Organizations can transform by focusing on changing habits. Companies like Procter & Gamble, Starbucks, Alcoa, and Target have used habit science to influence work routines, employee communication, and customer behavior. By identifying keystone habits and shaping organizational routines, firms can achieve lasting change and improved performance. Societies are collections of habits occurring among thousands of people. Leaders can influence social routines to create peace or prevent violence. Experiments in Cuba showed that removing food vendors disrupted riot patterns, demonstrating the power of habit loops in shaping collective behavior. Understanding societal habits offers new strategies for managing social issues. Craving is what powers the habit loop. Claude Hopkins, a legendary advertiser, created a craving for Pepsodent toothpaste by focusing on a simple cue, tooth film, and a clear reward, beautiful teeth. The craving for a cool, tingling sensation made toothbrushing a daily habit for millions. Understanding and cultivating craving is essential for creating new routines and making habits stick. Hopkins's rules for creating new habits: find a simple cue and clearly define the reward, transformed industries and became conventional wisdom among marketers. However, a third rule is needed: cultivating craving. Only when the brain starts expecting the reward does a habit become automatic. This principle applies to exercise, dieting, and countless other routines. Procter & Gamble's Febreze was designed to eliminate bad smells, but initial marketing failed because consumers didn't notice the cue. By repositioning Febreze as the reward at the end of a cleaning routine and adding a pleasant scent, P&G created a craving for freshness. Sales soared, demonstrating the importance of cue, routine, reward, and craving in habit formation. Experiments with monkeys showed that cues trigger routines and rewards, but craving is what makes habits automatic. When the reward is anticipated but not delivered, craving drives behavior. This neurological pattern explains why habits are so powerful and why cultivating craving is essential for lasting change. Craving drives habits in everyday life, from eating to checking email. When cues trigger anticipation of rewards, routines become automatic. Understanding which craving drives behavior is essential for overpowering temptations and making positive habits stick. This principle applies to exercise, dieting, and countless other routines. Research shows that people who habitually exercise do so because they crave specific rewards, such as endorphins or a sense of accomplishment. Choosing a simple cue and a clear reward and cultivating craving makes exercise routines automatic. This principle applies to building any new habit, from running to healthy eating. Companies use craving to drive product usage. Toothpaste, shampoo, and laundry detergent contain additives that create sensations, like tingling or foaming, that consumers crave. These sensations become cues for automatic routines, making products essential to daily habits. Understanding craving allows companies to create lasting consumer behaviors. The golden rule of habit change states that you can't extinguish a bad habit, you can only change it. By using the same cue and reward but inserting a new routine, any behavior can be transformed. This principle has influenced treatments for addiction, obesity, and countless other behaviors. Understanding and applying the golden rule is essential for lasting habit change. In summary, habits are powerful forces that shape our lives, organizations, and societies. By understanding the habit loop, cue, routine, reward, and the role of craving, anyone can take control of their behavior and make lasting changes. Whether you're looking to break a bad habit or build a new one, the science of habit offers practical tools and insights for transformation. Remember, change is possible when you focus on the right patterns and cultivate the craving for positive rewards.